This is podcast episode number 12 is on the proposed book Practice of Corporate Sustainability, a compendium of my podcast episodes 1 to 10, which is on the making. My previous podcast episode detailed overall concept and the episode number 1. This was culled from my book Corporate Citizenship and Sustainability, Measuring Intangible, Fiscal and Ethical Assets. Here I present with the takeaways of episode number 1 and episode number 2, which is post COVID-19 corporate restructuring. Your participation is welcome. There are 8 more episodes that would form part of the proposed book, Practice of Corporate Sustainability. As you know, I 4.0, the fourth industrial revolution, is of two kinds. One, advanced digital technology, and two, the societal changes. I would rather say it is a recording of the societal changes. In this episode number 2, foundation is laid for creating a dynamic database system. As Nobel laureate Murray Gell-Mann says, you don't have to add anything more to get something more. That is what emergent technologies mean.
Copyright Jairam Raja Iyer. All rights reserved. No part of this podcast and the resultant publication may be reproduced, stored in a retrieval system, or transmitted in any form or by any means, electronic, mechanical, photocopy, recording, or any other, except for brief quotations, not to exceed 250 words, without the prior permission of the author.
Table of content. Here in this episode number 12, I'm giving part of the cream ratings cut and razor, the takeaways, and then episode number 2, post-COVID-19 corporate restructuring. As you will see, there are quite a number of subject matter which would be coming through. 3 to 10, corporate governance toolkit. A word about corporate governance. The denominator is the subject, the energy force, not the matter. We tend to award corporate governance prizes without measuring it. Rules express the truth and justifies the conduct. Knowledge is a goal of ethics, and that is the knowledge of the conduct of individuals. That is missing, and the knowledge base is totally empty. Corporate governance toolkit will identify companies as who among you are the best by corporate governance as set by the cream technology. Accounting for dreams. Accounting for dreams is a very interesting one for the purpose of identifying and making use of the accounting firms, how they are developing to something very unique. In accounting for climate change and dynamic database, CO2 scope compliant companies. Again, a very important one. Some of the university professors and all that have participated. Then IMF transition to green economy is a very methodical approach to transition to green economy vis-a-vis the IMF. Then RFP, dynamic database system for I 4.0. In fact, request for proposal. This is exactly what I am doing, as I said, is a foundation. Please do not hesitate. This is the one which is for the companies and the database experts to come to my aid, if not rescue, to develop what has been put through. Then 5 steps to nirvana, which is a very interesting one as IBCM Consulting, certifying scope 1 companies. Is a very in-depth analysis, and why scope 3 companies, scope 3 parameters are very difficult for companies to obtain, which IBCM Consulting should be in a position to do. Then suggestion by Cream Technology on draft national policy, the Ministry MSMEs is a very fascinating one. Is in terms of policy accidents and policy politics that make very difficult for arriving at the policy paper, which film technology has a good way of doing it. So have a good look. In the book, I shall provide with two amazing advertisements and three amazing people of their concepts and how it influences our mind. Have a look, and I'm giving the summary. For the benefit of my readers, I had placed these five areas for looking into it. One is the penalty of leadership. We live in a WYSIWYG syndrome. What you see is what you get, and thereby become object-oriented pursuing. Going through the advertisements on Cadillac car, circa 1916, is indeed an emphasis on human capability to manufacture rather than the product by itself. The same if one goes through the various advertisements of Rolls-Royce cars. Amazing number of advertisements I have seen. Exceptional human ability is the underlying factor. Here, episode number 1 conveys the entire gamut of the book as to the human ability to perform. The denominator therefore becomes the human ability rather than stopping at the product. In today's context, it is not the number of Tesla vehicles that roll out of a factory, but how many Elon Musk are produced. That is the challenge, and that is the corporate sustainability. The takeaways, episode number 1 points to ponder. Number 2, do-it-yourself kit. The second factor is do-it-yourself kit. Vodafone ad is the innovative mind of an individual to get many good things in one. The emphasis in episode number 1 is again the human capability to adapt to the circumstances warranted. This would be the main theme for the proposed book, Practice of Corporate Sustainability. Individuals are in the forefront than an organization. As a reader would see in episode number 10, where MSMEs are dealt with, as how 110 million of them would be tracked as to prove what is said in the penalty of leadership. Now 3, a reptilian brain. The third factor is on reptilian brain from Professor Henrik Oleisen. Not utilizing the human capability is a message. Episode number 1 emphasizes the human capability to the core, brings it in as the denominator for corporate sustainability. A potter and a nuclear scientist has the same capability relative to the object-oriented work pattern. Realize your capability and make the best use of it. Episode number 7, IMF report on summary of world real per capita output shows the direction and importance of having a control on the reptilian brain. Yes, you can. The takeaways, episode number 1, points to ponder. Number 4, emergent property. The fourth factor is on emergent property. When we strain ourselves, as Professor Oleisen calls for, to tickle the reptilian brain and control it. Murray Gell-Mann, encouraging words making your effort simple. You don't need something more to get something more. That's what emergence means, he states. Readers will have more on this under principle number 5 or RBCM is a corporate yoga. Productivity coupled with accountability. Ensure measuring fiscal assets and ethical assets in an organization simultaneously. Number 5. The finest candle makers. The last one I mention is from Alan Savory, the ecologist, as a wake-up call for the executives. They are too focused on making their candles, and they are the best. Time they innovate, shifting the emphasis from advanced digital technology to measuring societal changes, which is what the episode number 1 conveys. An important observation from Alan Savory: the unintended consequence is when new knowledge emerges, new scientific insights, they can never ever be peer reviewed. So we are blocking all new advances in science that are big advances. Goes with what Professor Willison concludes. Be careful. Nothing happens. Nothing develops. Everything stagnates. Wake up, executives. Come out of your bullock cart management system. Just to remind my readers, this book is about practice of corporate sustainability. There's an application of the principles from the book Corporate Citizenship and Sustainability, Measuring Intangible, Fiscal and Ethical Assets. A small narrative on my experience with COVID-19. On 9th of March 2021, I moved into a senior citizen complex at Coimbatore from Thane, just escaping the second wave of COVID-19 that had become virulent. 24 states see weekly rise in COVID cases. The Times of India of that date reported, as Maharashtra topping the list with 64,657 cases. My podcast dated 2nd of July 2021, Post COVID-19 Corporate Restructuring, is an interesting study of leadership and corporate sustainability.
Escapade from Mumbai.
I give here one page report of my departure from Mumbai, which was 2012 escape from reality. This is what happened. It was diverted to Mangalore and then came to Coimbatore. On 9th of March 2021, I arrived at Coimbatore and was quarantined. And by 15th of March, I could move into my place. That's the time. On 17th March, 2 days after I came, I got the first jab, Covaxin. The colony had organized. I think it was the second one. Had I stayed in Thane, I wouldn't have got the facility. It was done very well, and it included almost everybody, not only from the senior citizens who are living here, but also all the workers and assistants and their family and their extended family. Everybody was given the first jab. And it was followed by the second one on April 27th. And I had the pleasure of getting that one also being done. Watching that and the protocols that had been maintained and how they are covering up the whole area. Is a big complex so full of villas, and more than 105 villas were there with the gates, and nobody allowed to get in. We had to go to the gate to collect our vegetables or even milk and whatnot. Nobody was allowed in. So very well done. And in my podcast dated 2nd of July 2021, post COVID-19 corporate restructuring, I mentioned the leadership and how why companies need to restructure their organization. Leadership. Colonel Sridharan is running S3 Koveka Senior Citizen Complex with great care and discipline. When I came in, it was already more than a year of protocols established and followed. In my podcast, I wonder why not such leadership be shown by a small group of people and observing strict protocols all over India. Kanastri then takes care of a small society of 1,000 to 4,000 people from within the colony and extending the same to the nearby village called Pachapalayam, where many staff reside. In May 2022, I write this note. It has been an excellent performance, and by now, all of the senior citizens have gone in for their booster roles. We have created a small but a strong society of people who now can move freely, free of any fear of COVID-19 cases reviving. That is leadership. Kanan Sridharan has shown the way, and others can follow. Not too late, considering what is happening in Shanghai and what is threatening Beijing. What gets measured gets managed is what I mentioned to start with. Podcast episode number 2. This is principle number 1 of IBCM, page 35. Page 35 refers to the book, proposed book's page number. What gets measured gets managed is an important principle for establishing corporate management operating systems within each company. There are about 170 open-ended process blocks by CRIM technology analytics of qualitative and quantitative elements of management for a company. Only 12, which are quantitative, P&L and balance sheet, we are measuring because they are quantitative. The rest 158 we do not measure at all because they are the qualitative elements of management. Refer to page 38. I've stated on intangible assets, page 32, why we were saying the root cause of economic collapse and why IAS 38 must be scrapped. Let me quote from the book. Quote, Corrado and Hulton, 2010, estimate that in 2007, by omitting investments of intangibles, $4.1 trillion was excluded from published national accounts data in the US. Unquote. Or transparency and accountability qualitative? Let's find out. 158 of the 170 elements of management are not measured at all. Martin Breeze confirms the consequence. We could imagine a universe where there were no laws at all, completely anarchic, every atom being different, and whether the case, we would make no progress at all in making sense of the external world. Frankly, that is apt for the corporate world. Let me quote from IFRS, our mission statement. Our mission is to develop IFRS standards that bring transparency, accountability, and efficiency to financial markets around the world. Not surprisingly, it is the same mission statement CRIM technology has adopted and with an apparatus to measure fiscal and ethical assets. This has been resolved with the introduction and understanding of the science of metaphysics, which provides with a common denominator of intangible. Defining intangible and measuring intangible, providing with the everlasting metrics, providing with the everlasting benchmarks, make all the difference in terms of providing an exceptionally great management operating system for any company. The change. In this COVID-19 scenario, what is very important in my opinion is to bring about the change. A change first of the denominator. The denominator is intangible. So we got to provide with the skills and energies of each and every individual measured by CRIM technology as EPP, effort per person. It is the one and the only available tool for measuring transparency and ensuring accountability.
Project Seed, Social, Environmental, and Economic Development. Restructuring of organizations.
Restructuring a database. Bring in under a single canopy of 17 SDGs the entire Global Development Goals. Project SEED would identify the three issue areas: social, environmental, and economic development to the respective 17 United Nations Sustainable Development Goals (SDGs). Project SEED under social will focus on these five policy issue areas as per the Global Happiness Policy Report 2018, presented the first attempts by the Global Council for Happiness and Well-being GCHW. Project SEED I'm sorry, I'm staying in a place where there are a lot of birds around. Scene number one, social. It has GCHW. Number one, health. There are five issue areas: health, education, work, personal happiness, and cities. Under health, there will be goal number three, good health and well-being. Under education, there will be number two, goal number four, quality education. Number three, work. Number three is goal number 8, decent work and economic growth. Number 4, personal happiness. Number 4, goal number 1, no poverty. Goal number 2, zero hunger. Number 6, goal number 5, gender equality. Number 7, goal number 10, reduce inequality. Number 8, goal number 16, peace and justice and strong institutions. Number 5 criteria is cities. So number 9, goal number 11, sustainable cities and communities. So under project SEED, under social, you have 9 goals of SDG reference and the 5 issue areas GCHD reference. So we are arriving at a integration of GNH. That is the main point. So let's go for the next. Project SEED, SEED number 2, environmental. The SDG references, there are 4 goals. Goal number 6, clean water and sanitation. Goal number 13, climate action. Goal number 14, life below water. And goal number 15, life on land. Then SEED 3, economic development. SDG reference, there are 4 goals. Goal number 7, affordable and clean energy. Goal number 9, industry, innovation and infrastructure. Goal number 12, responsible consumption and production. Goal number 17, partnerships to achieve the goal. There are totaling 944, 17 SDGs are being connected to for the purpose of GNH and as well as for GDP connection. So we will integration of these two is going to be very good. Delayed data. We are concerned about the database restructuring. That's what we are discussing. The delayed data, quote from the book. For example, an extract from the 2019 Global Happiness and Well-being Policy Report says GDP data for 2018 are not yet available. So we extend the GDP time series from 2017 to 2018 using country-specific forecasts of real GDP growth from the OECD Economic Outlook number 104, edition November 2018, and the World Bank's Global Economic Prospects last updated 6/7/2018 after adjustment for population growth. Unquote. If you look at India's annual economic survey presented during the annual budget, the data from several states are missing, and in turn the states' GDP data is nearly 3 years old. This is the common factor for whether it's World Bank or OECD or any other major organization who is culling the information from different places as to the authenticity and the up-to-date information. It can never be up-to-date as on today. So the delayed data is a thing which we have accustomed to accept. And this what it says in the first one is adjustment, one adjusting with the other. World Bank data to OECD data to IMF data to various data. But there is not a single data available anywhere in the world as to the authentic data that this is the one from this information. Let us have a look at it. Integrate social, environmental, and economic development goals. Let me state from the book Corporate Citizenship and Sustainability, Measuring Intangible, Fiscal, and Ethical Assets. Quote, Louis Coyante, in a draft note prepared for the UN around 2012, observed, happiness towards a holistic approach to development. Draft note 1. Most conclusions of happiness surveys are usually based on information from weird, Western educated, industrialized, rich democracies, countries, limiting their credibility. And 2. Recognize that GDP is not the only indicator of well-being. 3. Integrate economic and social policies better. 4. Develop specific policies for environmental protection. 5. Develop well-being indicators to guide their policy design and monitoring in line with sustainable development objectives. Unquote. Of course, it was written in 2012, the draft note. One thing which we can, very many things have come about, like UNGC and other things have subsequently had come. Now, what is very important is that to recognize that GDP is not the only one and integrate the economic and social policies better. That's the one which I like to pinpoint. And CRIM technology is designed to integrate social, environmental, and economic development data. Let's find it out. Self-discipline leading to self-governance. What we see during Ramadan, Lent, Yom Kippur, Paryushana, Ekadashi is an amazing characteristics of self-discipline the society has imbibed over several centuries. The 9 social SDGs are individualistic. Helping hand is always needed for this category of people that came out pouring during COVID-19 breakouts, free kitchens, distribution of food, free transports, etc. However, leadership is needed to guide the category. As I mentioned about Colonel Sridharan, this is the only way for transformation, but the society is a willing follower, albeit instinctive. Senses govern this category. Number 2, the 4 environmental SDGs are partnership between individuals and the society. Quote from the book, we reason out rising from the empirical to the dialectical stage when we argue and derive conclusions from observed data. When we analyze the 3 stages of mental evolution, senses are related to instinctive reaction, reason to logical knowledge, which Dr. Radhakrishnan says is comparable to a finger that points to the object and disappears when the object is seen. Unquote. An individual infers and the society teaches to self-govern, but leads more toward self-convincing at this stage. Corporate belong to this category. Seed number 3. The four economic development SDGs are a collection of individuals of intellectual value arising out of intuitive knowledge. They are at a more mature stage who obtain a synthetic and intuitive knowledge of reality. But intuition, though it includes the testimony of will and feeling, is never fully attained without strenuous intellectual effort. It cannot dispense with the discipline of reason and the technique of proof. Washington Carver, Amadeo Giannini, Tatas, Elon Musk belong to this category of self-governance.
When a man's work becomes a standard for the whole world, it also becomes a target for the shafts of the envious few. If his work be merely mediocre, he will be left severely alone. If he achieve a masterpiece, it will set million tongues a-wagging. Penalty of leadership.
Corporate sustainability. During COVID-19, led by Ratan Tata, Indian family concerns have shown remarkable care toward their employees and their families, just as I observed of Colonel Sridharan. This is the strength of the Indian economy, the very core of corporate economic structure, and the very essence of corporate sustainability. The board guides and the CO team practices. The CO team is tangible, whereas the board is intangible. Project Seed Framework. Management quality is the repository of all 17 SDGs. Together with accounting quality, sustainability of value system is ensured. It would be the critical aspect of corporate sustainability, ensuring corporate governance and risk management, or the CO team and the workforce. Strategy Plan 2030. Prepare detailed strategy plan for each of the 17 SDGs by a CRIM technology that establishes in 6 stages of transformation a strategy plan 2030, an action plan converting CAGR to CDGR, the daily growth rate, tracking 2030 targets. Governance is a dynamic function. Measure cost consequence now is the criterion with an index of inactivity by EPP for each task. Accountability is built in for all quantitative and qualitative elements of management with a common denominator: zero the cost of inaction. Zero the cost of inaction. EPP, effort per person, by return on intangible. The denominator is finite, whereas the numerator is infinite. By CREAM technology, intangible is proved as a constant, an energy force with a fixed value in a specified mathematical context, enabling the accomplishment of an infinite succession of finite purposes by controlling each goal. Zero the NPAs. NPAs are wrongly attributed from a balance sheet as non-performing assets. In reality, it is a non-utilization of your energy force. Index of inactivity is a systematic approach to allocate tasks and track whether they are accomplished. Matter and energy. The 3 laws CREAM technology uses for corporate sustainability are: law number 1, energy is liberated matter. We show on the P&L and balance sheet. Law number 2, matter is energy waiting to happen. Raw materials go down to finished goods stores to NPAs. Law number 3. When antimatter collides with matter, it forms pure energy. That's to say, push law number 2 to law number 1. Equation return on intangible. Law number 2 divided by law number 3 is equal to law number 1. The takeaways. Episode number 2. Points to ponder. 1. Dynamic database system. I 4.0, the fourth industrial revolution, is of two kinds. One, advanced digital technology, and two, the societal changes. I would rather say it is a recording of the societal changes. In this episode number 2, foundation is laid for creating a dynamic database system. As Nobel laureate Murray Gell-Mann says, you don't have to add anything more to get something more. That is what emergent technologies mean. 2. What gets measured gets managed. I am honestly surprised, and I would like you all to be more surprised when we find how we run our organization with only ex post facto balance sheet and P&L. 158 or 170 open-ended process blocks are not measured at all. Does not help the companies to grow and multiply. Big opportunities do exist, as Professor Ullison points out. If you shut down your reptilian brain, or at least control it, then you gain the world of opportunities, possibility of developing and learning new things as a human being, as an organization, as a culture. You have to develop. Companies must be open-minded indeed. Points to ponder. Number 3. Pascal's 3 stages of mental evolution, senses, reason, and intuition, provide the 3 aspects of leadership for social, environmental, and economic development goals. The fundamental willingness in all the 3 sets of goals is made evident from the self-discipline the people offer. Leadership is therefore utilized in the capability and readiness to participate in all the 17 SDGs classified. CRIM technology Project Seed framework arises from the foot soldier level. Leadership is catering to the foot soldier in order to accomplish the task assigned by the leader above, at each step reaching to the CEO level. That is how CRIM technology is created. Points to ponder. Number 4. Recording societal changes. Social SDGs are split into 5 categories: health, education, work, personal happiness, and cities. Then 4 from environmental, and another 4 from economic development goals. Our digital technology is sufficiently geared to record the societal changes individually. CRIM technology is aligned with nature to provide the everlasting benchmarks and metrics. The subsequent episodes 3 to 10 would elaborate further.